We're about to take a journey into a world that's all around you, inside you, and yet completely invisible. It's a world that, in many ways, runs our planet, and we're just starting to understand it. Let's dive in.
Okay, look at this number, 10 to 1. What do you think that could be? It's not the odds on a horse race. It's not a stock tip. It's actually a fundamental truth about you right now as you're listening to this.
That's right. For every single one of your own human cells, there are roughly 10 microbial cells living in and on your body. Think about that for a second. You are, quite literally, a walking, talking ecosystem. And that incredible fact is our gateway into the science that studies all this hidden life.
So what do we call the study of these invisible companions? Well, that brings us to the field of microbiology.
You know, at its heart, microbiology is the science of life that's too small for us to see. We're talking about things like bacteria, viruses, fungi, the whole microscopic crew. But don't let their size fool you, because their impact on our world is absolutely gigantic. And when I say they're everywhere, I really mean it. A single teaspoon of soil can have 1 billion microbes in it. 1 billion! They are the true unsung architects of our world, thriving in every single corner of our planet.
Which kind of begs a pretty big question, right? If this whole universe of life is totally invisible, how on earth did we ever figure out it was there in the first place? Well, the story of that discovery is a real turning point for humanity.
You see, it wasn't one single aha moment. It was a series of groundbreaking discoveries that slowly, piece by piece, pulled back the curtain on this microbial world.
For most of human history, getting sick was a total mystery. People blamed it on angry gods or bad air. But then, in 1676, this Dutch cloth merchant named Antony van Leeuwenhoek, who had a hobby of grinding lenses, peered through one of his homemade microscopes and saw something incredible. He called them animalcules, tiny little creatures swimming around. It was the first time anyone had ever seen a microbe. It still took another 200 years for pioneers like Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch to finally connect the dots and prove that these tiny organisms were responsible for fermentation and, crucially, for causing specific diseases. That was the birth of the germ theory, and it completely changed everything.
So now that we know they exist, let's meet the main players. And trust me, this isn't just one type of organism. It's a massively diverse kingdom of life.
The big groups you'll hear about are bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa, and algae. Each one is totally different with its own unique job. Now, let's zoom in on the two you're probably most familiar with: bacteria and viruses.
Okay, the biggest difference between bacteria and viruses: it's life itself. Bacteria are living cells. They're tiny, single-celled organisms that can eat and reproduce all on their own. Viruses? Well, they're not technically alive. They're more like tiny biological pirates. They're just a little bit of genetic code, DNA or RNA, stuffed inside a protein shell. They can't do anything by themselves. They have to invade a living cell and hijack its machinery to make more copies of themselves. One is a living being, the other is a biological invader.
And the rest of the cast is just as critical. Fungi are nature's ultimate cleanup crew. They're the decomposers that break everything down. Protozoa are a vital link in the food chain. And algae? Well, the algae in our oceans crank out a huge chunk of the oxygen we all breathe.
All this diversity brings us to one of the most interesting ideas in microbiology: the dual nature of these tiny things. They are, at the same time, some of our greatest allies and our most dangerous enemies.
First, let's talk about all the good they do. Let's meet the allies. So many of these microbes are absolutely essential for us. The bacteria in your gut right now are helping you digest your last meal. We rely on other microbes to create life-saving medicines like penicillin. And hey, if you like yogurt, cheese, or even bread, you've got microbes to thank for that fermentation process. They're our silent partners, keeping us healthy and keeping the entire planet in balance.
But, of course, that is only one side of the story. There are also the adversaries.
A tiny fraction of microbes are what we call pathogenic, which means they cause disease. And these are the ones that make the headlines. They're responsible for everything from the common flu to devastating global pandemics like COVID-19. They can spoil our food, and some are even silent killers, causing diseases in us, our pets, and our crops. Understanding this dark side is just as important.
So with this complex relationship of friend and foe, where is all this science heading? What's next? Honestly, this is where the story gets really exciting.
We're entering a golden age of microbiology.
Fields like metagenomics now let us study the DNA of an entire microbial community all at once. It's like taking a census of an invisible city. We're finally starting to understand the human microbiome and how it connects to everything from our mood to our immune system. And with synthetic biology, we're literally engineering microbes to do specific jobs for us, like creating biofuels or manufacturing brand new medicines. It's amazing stuff.
And this really sums it up perfectly. The quote says that microbes will play a huge role in future treatments and new diagnostic tools. What that means is the future of medicine, technology, and maybe even our planet's health is tied directly to this invisible world.
So, from that wild 10-to-1 ratio of microbes to human cells in our own bodies, all the way to the future of engineered organisms, microbiology is this constant, incredible reminder that the smallest things on Earth often have the biggest impact. The journey into this invisible world, well, it's really only just beginning. What do you think we'll discover next?